Good evening. My name is Jacques Dean. I'm the road superintendent with Kitsap County, and I'd like to welcome you all to the fourth open house for the North Kitsap Service Center. We've got a few people from the county in the meeting as well. Commissioner Gelder, our North End Commissioner, Joe Rutan, the county engineer, Keith Swearingen, and Matt Benson with our Equipment Services Division, Chris Piercy and Rick Gilbert from our Solid Waste Division. We also have a number of members from the OTAC team that you'll be hearing from here as the meeting progresses. So a couple housekeeping items I want to go over with you before we start. This meeting is being recorded. You can see on the screen the pathway to see the recording afterwards, or to hear the recording afterwards. During the presentation, all attendees will be muted to ensure audio quality so we can all hear what is spoken. If you need an ADA interpreter or translation services for non-English speakers, we can accommodate that afterwards. We can have the recording translated for those individuals. We also are required to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. This requires the county to be sure that everyone in an affected area of the project area has a chance to be heard and to respond to our transportation programs or this project. To help with that, we ask that you voluntarily provide us information about your race, ethnicity, and/or gender. You are not required to disclose this information in order to participate in this meeting. It is voluntary. It's voluntary, and if you would choose to do that, you can see the path here at the bottom of the screen as well. So at the end of the meeting, we will hold off on questions and answers until the end of the meeting. There are a few options for you. If you are on the meeting as an internet user, you have two options. One is to use the raise hand feature on the Zoom program, and IRIC will call on you in order. Option two is to type your question into the chat box. For those of you who are dialing in, if you hit *9 on your keypad, it'll present the last four numbers of your phone number, and IRIC will call you according to your last four digits. So with all that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Massey, the project manager with OTAC, overseeing this project.
Thanks, Jacques. Jeff Massey. As Jacques mentioned, I am the project manager on behalf of the OTAC team. Some of the things I do is I interact with Jacques and other county stakeholders. I help coordinate the OTAC team activities, and I monitor and control project performance, including things like making sure we're delivering the scope that we've committed to, doing it at the right time, and doing it at the price that we've committed to. So in terms of the agenda, I introduced myself. Later in the presentation, some of the OTAC team members, including Anna, Sierra, and Philip, are going to do a little brief introduction of themselves. We're going to give an overview. This is the fourth in a series. We've talked about the overview of the project, but for those who may be new to this set of open houses, we like to do that. We're going to talk about what we've done in the past, just kind of go through it from a high level, talk about where we're at right now, the next steps. And as Jacques had mentioned, we're going to do a Q&A session towards the end. So the overview, Anna's going to go through a plan, so it'll probably become more clear then, but in a more written and verbal fashion. There's really two main functions to this project. The main function is going to be the road operations facility. And so there will be an administrative and equipment maintenance shop building. So that's where staff will muster in the morning, have locker rooms, supervisors can have offices, and the equipment services division can maintain the equipment and vehicles that the county needs to do their jobs. There's also going to be parking and storage that is covered. That's so we can keep rain and sun off materials that need to stay sheltered. There's also of course, going to be some open parking. There's going to be bulk storage material, things like sand and gravel, and there will be some other program elements on the site. So the second main function of this project site is to house the household hazardous waste collection facility. So that will provide a place for residents in the north end of Kitsap County to take their household hazardous waste. The county will collect them, store them, and then it'll be stored until the county vendors can come collect those materials for ultimate disposal. And there will also be a reuse shop. So with that, I'm going to let Jacques talk a little bit more about the activities that the road operations group does.
Yeah, so we've got 3 road shops throughout the county, one in the south end, one in central, and one in north. The existing facility you've probably seen on the corner of Bond and 308 as you're going into Paulsbo, or it's 308 or 305, at the intersection there as you're going into Paulsbo. And it houses our road maintenance crews. And as you see on the picture, the road maintenance crews do all sorts of various tasks to keep our road system at a high level of service. So we resurface roadways with asphalt and chip seal. We do vegetation management to ensure we have a good line of sight and safe sight distance on our roads. We sweep contaminants off the roadway. We do ditch work, shoulder work. We do snow and ice control. So this facility will house those crews. It will house our equipment, a lot of the material we use for maintenance, and also our equipment services division, our mechanics who work on the equipment and keep it functional for our use. So that's pretty much in a nutshell for the roads operations group.
Thanks, Jacques. And now I'm going to turn over to Rick Gilbert with Solid Waste to talk about the types of waste that are collected at the household hazardous waste collection facility.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Here you see there's kind of a pictorial guide to some of the materials we'll be collecting at the household hazardous waste facility. This is pretty much exactly the materials that are collected at our current Bremerton facility. As you can see, these are all items that are pretty common in many homes, but are inappropriate to be disposed of in the garbage. The facility that's being planned does have a pretty small footprint, as you'll see later. We don't really have room to collect other recyclables, and we really want to focus primarily on collecting these household hazardous materials. And I just want to say that this is all material that comes from neighborhoods. We will collect material from any home in Kitsap County, but since this facility will be located in the north end of Kitsap, it'll be used very extensively by north end residents. And the material, as was mentioned, is just collected and then it's removed by our county vendor staff within 1 or 2 weeks. So all the material is coming off of properties in your neighborhoods, coming to this facility and being safely stored and then delivered off site. We decided to build a second facility with an eye to the future. Public Works has to plan, 10, 20, 30 years in advance for infrastructure like this. And it's safe to assume that there will be some population growth that occurs in the county. Our current facility is quite busy, and this will give North End residents a much more convenient option than driving down Highway 3 for 45 minutes to an hour. I think it would incentivize people disposing of these items at our facility rather than putting them in the garbage. So that's why we made the decision to site this location. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rick. So I'm going to start out talking about the schedule a little bit. This is a schedule that we presented in previous open houses. And of course, we update it as we go along. But just in pictorial format, early on, we did the data collection analysis phase. I'll talk a little bit about these in an upcoming slide. We did the site planning phase. Both these activities occurred back in 2001. The 30% design phase was completed here back in the spring. We most recently completed the 60% design phase, and we are currently into the environmental review, the State Environmental Policy Act, as well as land use permitting. Right now, we're in the 90% design phase. We're also going to start construction regulatory permitting at this time. And then you see the 100% design phase is scheduled to occur starting late this year and being completed in the spring of 2023. And in terms of construction, we see that occurring starting in the summer of 2023. And this little footnote here is to show that the construction schedule runs off this page, but we see this as being a 2-season construction being completed in 2024. So the completed phases, like we showed in the schedule, I'll just give a little more granularity to it. The data collection analysis phase, that includes things like topographic survey, geotechnical investigation. We confirmed the critical areas, the quality of the stream, the quality of the wetlands and their buffers. We went through a site planning phase in which we had 2 main alternatives that we came up with. We analyzed those two alternatives. We compared them. We compared the relative price of one to another. The county did select alternative A. From that alternative A, we started developing the 30% design plans, refining that alternative A. We brought in, all the disciplines, architecture, landscape architecture, stormwater, civil, to define or to refine the design and come up with those plans that we need to. We gave that set to the county. They provided comments. We addressed those comments in our 60% design phase and actually kept refining the design as we went along. Currently, we're in the 90% design, like it showed back in the schedule. And so we got the 60% design comments from the county. We're incorporating those comments into the 90% design. And with that, I'm going to introduce or let Sierra introduce herself a little bit and talk more about the permitting and the environmental review.
Thank you, Jeff. My name is Sierra Carson. I am a planner with OTAC, the consultant team, and my role on this project includes organizing and coordinating our permit submittals. Along with the 90% design of the project, current tasks include applying for land use and SEPA permit approvals. The SEPA process, or State Environmental Review Process, will evaluate the general and environmental impacts of the project. The land use permit process will evaluate the project for consistency with the local zoning and land use regulations. Our original schedule called for SEPA to be completed this past summer, but the County Department of Community Development requested that we consolidate our SEPA and land use processes for this project. The combined land use and SEPA application will be submitted this fall, and there will be an opportunity for public comment during that process. Additional permits, such as the NPDES permit, National Pollutants Discharge Elimination Systems permit for stormwater review, and a timber harvesting permit will also be applied for this fall. After the land use and the SEPA process, we will be applying for construction permits, and that will be the final phase of permits to review and approve the design prior to construction.
Thank you, Sarah. So what does the design look like? We've seen earlier versions of the site plan before, but this is a more refined version. So I'm going to ask Anna to talk a bit more about this.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to walk everyone through the site. So we have an existing stream to the northeastern.
Great. There we go.
Yeah. So over to the northwest frontage of the site, there's an existing stream, and we're maintaining 150 feet buffer west of it. And then there is an existing wetland, which we're maintaining a 50-foot buffer around. So at both of these wetland and the stream and buffer, we're not touching any of the vegetation. It will remain, and all the trees will remain on site. And as for the proposed site, we have the household hazardous waste building over on the southwest corner. People can enter the site through a gate, and then they'll be able to drive around the island and drop off their hazardous waste. They can also go into the building and pick up any of the reused products. Over to the north, we have the road operations building, and we have the maintenance vehicles will be parked along the perimeter of that that site. Over along the Bond Road, we have covered stalls for the maintenance vehicles. Some of these covered stalls will become ready for electrical charging once they're more light and heavy duty EV vehicles come in online in the future. I want to also mention that there will be EV charging station for staff at both buildings as well. And then over to the east side of the site, we have a bulk storage area for the road operations facility. And then we have a fuel station. And to the north of that, we have the vehicle wash, which will use the recycled water. And then stormwater on the site will be collected via catch basins and directed through each of the 3 stormwater wetland we have at the site and a detention pond. The stormwater will be treated via the pond and via oil water separator before it enters into the vault and before it gets discharged into the stream. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so the county code requires a setback, roadside setback and separation buffer. So we have 2 rows of planting along this road as well as two rows of trees and shrubs and ground cover planting to provide site barrier around the site. And there's also planting along the Lambert Road and planting within the stormwater wetland ponds and also around the wetland buffer. Okay, and then on the next slide, you'll see some of the different types of plants we have selected. There's the overstory trees at the buffer area. There are the understory trees buffers, and then there's the utility line buffer planting. If you go over to the next slide, there's more understory buffer planting, and the county may simplify this palette once we get further into the design. And with that, I'm gonna hand this over to Steve.
Oh yeah, it's Phillips is filling in for Steve tonight. So Philip, please do a quick intro and take it away, sir.
Sure. I'm Philip Pitzenberger with OTAC, project architect for both these main buildings on site, and also leading the coordination with the different consultants that are involved with the project. So to start with the road operations building, we have there on the left side the admin and staff areas for offices for the supervisors and support functions like a large locker room, showers, laundry, and restrooms, and also the break and copy areas. And then nice features the large multi-purpose room that will also be used as a community shelter in case of emergency. So it's a nice dual function there for the community. And other support features for the main program, which is the heavy maintenance vehicle maintenance base there in the middle. So we have 5 of those, along with various equipment for maintaining the large equipment and vehicles. And then also the tire shop, break room for the mechanics, and also an extra storage bay there at the end. So the main structure of this building is concrete tilt-up panels, and we can go to the next slide now and discuss the exterior of the building. And architecturally, the main feature from the massing standpoint is the sawtooth roofs over the maintenance bays, which will provide a lot of nice natural light, make it a nice work environment for the maintenance facility, and also reduce the need for artificial electric lighting during the day. It also provides a nice roof form for solar panels, which will be a nice sustainability feature. We also have a few recesses throughout the building, which are treated with a different material. So there'll be a nice feature be treated with a wood material that'll help soften the palette of the concrete. Then on the rendering on the left-hand side, you'll see kind of a glass box there, which is that conference / multi-purpose room. So that's a nice architectural feature that kind of stands out from the rest of the building. And throughout both buildings, we have played with this roof form where we have a sloping roof transitioning to a vertical wall where the roof material comes down vertically. So that language kind of plays throughout both buildings and ties the two designs together with that common language. We can go on to the next slide now. So the other building is the household hazardous waste. And this one is where people come drop off their waste materials. So a large portion of this is kind of back of house storage areas, sorting facilities, and then a hazardous bulking room for hazardous materials. And then there's in the lower right hand corners the offices for the staff and some support functions, shower, restrooms, and then common areas there in the front of the building. We have a lunchroom and also at the corner a review shop for the public, which will be kind of a nice architectural feature we'll see from the exterior. Go ahead. There we go. So there on the left-hand side, we see that roof structure again, where we have a sloping roof transitioning to a vertical wall and a large amount of storefront glazing, which will be the review shop for the public. So that's kind of the most prominent architectural feature in this building. And then kind of a play on that same language as the drive-through. We have the stained seam roof structure that drops into a vertical panel. And then along the back side, the more utilitarian side of the building, we have a similar roof structure over the loading dock. And one thing we refined since the previous design is we've created a roof well, mechanical well, because we have very large air handlers on this building. And that was going to be visible with our previous design. So we've dropped a well so that it's hidden there in the roof structure. So we still have a lot of nice natural light daylighting throughout the storage and utility areas to have natural lighting and reduce artificial lighting. So it's a nice sustainability feature. And then we've developed the materials a bit more since the previous meeting. Like I said, the main structure is concrete tilt-up panels. So those will have various joint patterns and a mixture of light and dark gray concrete. And then there's some framed walls that'll have a different material, which will be a fiber cement, number 8 there. And that'll be probably a dark material that will blend in with the dark concrete so that we don't stand out too much. And then the different recesses throughout the building at entryways, there's going to be a warmer wood material that's got kind of a gray wash finish to it that'll weather nicely in the Pacific Northwest, so it won't. This natural cedar obviously will start looking really worn quickly, so this will help alleviate that. And then as an accent throughout the exposed steel in the project, throughout canopies and downspouts and that type of thing, we have an orange, which is kind of reminiscent of the traffic cones, kind of playing off of that motif. So that'll be kind of our pop of color throughout the design. And then we have a lot of natural lighting, like we mentioned before, both in storefront glazing and also a cowl wall system, which will be a nice diffused lighting in the maintenance bays. Image there kind of shows you an application of that, which will be kind of similar to our sawtooth roofs. So yeah, that's pretty much the exterior materials. So large overhead doors also with glazing to provide natural light and those maintenance bays as well.
Thank you, Philip.
Yep.
So where are we going in the future with this project? So the future phases, after we finish the 90% design, comes the 100% design, as one would think. And so Sierra mentioned something about the construction permitting that's going to be going on during the final design phase. So obviously we're going to take the 90% plans, refine them, take the review comments that we get from the county, incorporate those, put together a construction contract manual. It consists of the plans and the specifications, in which the county can issue a notice of call for bids, receive bids from interested contractors, award likely to the lowest bidder, and put together a construction contract, which the county will administer, probably with some help from not only the OTAC team, but perhaps a third-party construction manager. And then the construction will start taking place like it showed on the schedule. We'll show again here in just a minute. But the construction, the basic elements of the construction will be temporary erosion and sedimentation control, clearing and grubbing, a lot of grading. We want to utilize on-site materials for most of our grading to take some of that hilly surface and make it flatter so we can put up the buildings and other features on there. We also need some retaining walls to do that grading. Then there will be vertical construction, which basically means the buildings, the foundations, the superstructure, all the stuff that goes within the buildings themselves. We'll be doing utilities, water supply, on-site sewer system, storm sewer system, and then surfacing, landscaping. Those are the major elements that will be happening during construction. So we're showing this schedule again, so people can visualize these different phases that we have gone through and are going through and will go through. Again, the construction activities we think is going to be at least 2 seasons. I would say about 2 seasons going on in through 2024. But we wanted to show the schedule again, just to remind folks where we stand with this series of open houses. This is the 4th of a series of 5, and the county is very much considering a 6th open house. The timing, which would be once the contractor's brought on board, they develop a schedule and can share the schedule of those construction activities with the general public. So we had open houses 1 and 2 back in 2021. We had our open house number 3 back last spring. And of course, here we are at open house number 4. And then we anticipate open house number 5 being towards the end or after the 90% design. In December might be a little optimistic. It might better wait till January just to deal with, the holiday season, but the county will be making that decision here once we get closer to that date. So I'm going to open up to Eirik and Jacques to talk about other opportunities for engagement.
So yeah, we have on our webpage, you see it at the bottom of the screen, all sorts of information about the project. You can find, some of the studies that were done by the various sub-consultants. You'll find schedules, you'll find a copy of the 60% drawings. There's 270 plan sheets in those drawings, a lot of information to glean from the project. If you have any specific comments or want to talk about the project, feel free to contact me at the phone number and or email on the screen. Eirik, excuse me.
Great, thank you, Jacques. Good evening. My name is Eirik O'Neill. I am the outreach coordinator for Kitsap County Public Works Roads Division. And at this point, we will go ahead and open it up for questions. The first question we received was, Jeff, I'll toss this to you. And the question is, what does OTAC mean?
Yeah, I came to work at OTAC a few years ago, so I looked it up online, and I think OTAC means like brains in Indonesian. So I don't know if that's happenstance, but really, I mean, most of the consultant names such as OTAC are an acronym that basically stand for the founding fathers of the firm. So I can't remember the names of the founding fathers, but I can remember the name OTAC as the acronym.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Second question is typed by Mike into the Q&A dialog box. Has a risk analysis been done for each stage of this project? Are the results available to the public?
So
Yeah,
you want to take a shot at it?
I don't.
Okay. I'm not sure what you mean by risk analysis. I can say that throughout the process from start to where we're at currently, and we'll continue through final design, we have gone through several reviews, and all the stakeholders on the county side have reviewed the products that OTAC has produced for us. Of course, they have a whole team of specialists, professionals that have worked on this, and they've all collaborated together throughout. So we've been scrutinizing design, the layout. As Jeff mentioned earlier, they presented a couple different alternatives that we studied and scrutinized and settled on the option that you guys saw on the screen. So, from that perspective, if that's what you meant by risk analysis, we've done all sorts of review and vetting out of this project, excuse me.
Great, thank you, Jacques. We've got a request for someone to ask a verbal question, and the name in this case is just screen name. So I'm going to unmute this person, and you should be able to ask your question. The person with the username screen name, you are unmuted and you should be able to ask your question.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Rick Gilbert, who was making a point of the location for hazmat being so much closer than the 303 drive to Bremerton. What are the precise materials that cannot currently be put at the Hansville hazmat site by households?
The Hansville Recycling and Garbage Facility accepts used motor oil, antifreeze, fluorescent tubes and bulbs, sharps, and household and automotive batteries. We'll be taking all of those items at our planned HHW facility, along with things like paints, pesticides, corrosives, corrosive cleaners, and things like that.
So paint, pesticides, and corrosives are no where to go currently other than down in Bremerton?
That's correct. There is a new program that does allow people to take their paint to certain retail locations. That program is called Paint Care, and they work in collaboration with our program. But people who have larger volumes of paint would be better off bringing it to us.
Well, we're talking household. So then pesticides and corrosives are what will be being collected at the new location, and the closest location currently is Bremerton.
That's correct.
Are there any other materials that will be collected at the new facility that are not being collected in Hansville?
Yeah, Jeff just showed, I don't know if you've got access to the slideshow, but Jeff just flipped back to the pictogram of all the materials that we collect at our current facility. And these are the items that we're going to be taking at our new facility. So
I want to know the difference. I want to know what will be collected at the new facility that is not able to be disposed of other than down in Bremerton currently.
okay, let me just go through this slide here. Aerosols. So antifreeze and coolant, that's taken at Hansville as well, but we'll be taking it at the new location.
I want to know location only.
Okay. Aerosols, cleaning products, flammable liquids and solvents, gasoline and petroleum fuels, paints and stains, pesticides and herbicides, pool and spa chemicals, small propane bottles, and road flares.
And none of those are currently to be left in Hansville, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And a 1 to 2 week time frame is what is expected for these materials to be on site at the new location once they're being collected there.
That's correct. Our vendor comes and picks up these materials sometimes once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks.
And then I'd also like to ask a question of the individual that was going over the buffers. And I just want to verify that there's going to be a 150-foot buffer that's going to be west of the stream that intersects at Rover Road, and a 50-foot buffer around all wetland.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to a question we received in the Q&A dialog box. How energy efficient are these buildings?
I can speak to that. So New Washington Energy Code is probably one of the most stringent in the United States. So any new building is required to be extremely energy efficient. And we've ran the energy modeling through the state's software, and we beat energy code, the current energy code. So they're pretty energy efficient buildings. So some of the stuff we're doing is inside the tilt up panel walls, there's a large amount of insulation, rigid insulation, to help the heating and cooling. And also the maintenance bays like that, just by nature is not very energy efficient because we have large doors and openings to trips riding through. So that's a partially conditioned space. And the walls between that and the office space are also insulated. So we save energy there. And also with a lot of daylighting and radiant floor heating in the maintenance bays is a very efficient way to heat a space like that. And like I said, the Washington Energy Code is so stringent that all the lighting, will be LED lighting. We'll have photovoltaic panels on the roof to help offset energy loads. And then there's also natural light is probably one of the biggest things. And then just large amounts of insulation in the walls. So they're very energy efficient, especially comparing it to older buildings of a similar type. It does a really good job. So hopefully that helps answer that.
Great, thank you, Philip. We've got somebody that would like to ask a question verbally. Pedro Valverde, hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm going to unmute your connection, and you should be able to ask a question verbally. Pedro. Pedro, if you unmute your microphone, you should be able to ask a question. And try one more time. Pedro, if you're there, please unmute your microphone and proceed with your question or comment. Okay, we're not reaching Pedro at the moment. So hopefully, maybe it's a connection issue. All right, we'll go back to a question we received regarding the firm OTAC. Jeff, the follow-up question is, what part does this firm play in the project?
Yeah, so there's quite a few disciplines. So OTAC provides the project management, the overall project management, and is our lead civil engineer. So she does site development, grading, drainage, lots of different things, parking, I mean, just the entire site. We have landscape architecture. So Anna was sharing the landscape architect plans or the planting plan. They also put together the irrigation plans for plant establishment. Sierra is a member of our planning group, so she really helps coordinate and facilitate the environmental review and permitting, as well as public outreach. Architecture, we can't leave out architecture. Of course, they're doing the majority of the work of the big ticket items, the two buildings and some of the other structures around here. We do have what we call structural engineering for things throughout the site, the retaining walls, foundations for things like gate posts, and also a sander insert rack, which is something that Jacques' group is going to use during wintertime operations. So those are kind of like the main elements. We had our surveyors perform, the topographic survey. We had, it's not coming to mind right now. So we have quite a few sub-consultants who provide specialized services. I mentioned something about cultural resources. We had somebody put together a report for that. We've got building structural. The name of the firm is VLMK, and they have some expertise when it comes to tilt-up buildings in particular. We've got a mechanical, electrical, plumbing consultant, MP2, who's doing all of that work, which is considerable. We also have a consultant on board called Pinnacle, who really specializes in the layout and the installation of either county provided mechanic equipment or contractor provided mechanic equipment. We had an arborist go do health and tree risk assessment to kind of augment our landscaping design. And gosh, I'm missing somebody that's not coming to mind right now. Anyway, it's a pretty good sized team. A lot of different disciplines come together, and this is truly what you call a multidisciplinary design.
Great, thank you, Jeff. All right, next question comes from Mark Libby. The presenter mentioned that there would be solar panels. Can you point out where on the roof they will be located, and what direction will the windows in the sawtooth face?
Yeah, so right now the plan is to have the solar panels on the sawtooth, so the kind of zigzagging roof on the ROF, and that sloping side's on the south side, and then the windows there are on the north side. And we haven't fully designed the PV system yet, the solar panels yet, but there may be other locations on the roof, but they'll for sure be on the sawtooth roofs. Potentially other areas on site to be determined.
Great, thank you, Philip. Next question comes from Cheryl McCurdy. I live on Gunderson Road and am concerned about all the traffic that will be generated. The entrance to the facility is very close to the intersection of Bond Road and Gunderson Road. Drivers frequently fly around the corner onto Gunderson. I foresee a lot of traffic accidents in the future for drivers who don't know about the entrance to the facility. How is that going to be taken care of?
Jacques, you want to take a shot? I can lean in.
Sure. Yeah. So our traffic engineers have done traffic counts out at this location. As the roadway is opened up and we get more and more use in that whole Lambert, because there's other parcels in this area that are going to be developed in the near future as well. They will keep a close eye on that. There'll be signage on the roadways in advance for traffic, to notify traffic of the development. It's something that we're just going to have to keep our eye on and monitor closely. It may require, some additional tree removal on the inside of that corner for longer sight distance. It's just something we're going to have to evaluate as development occurs in this area.
Thank you, Jacques. I've got a comment from Mike. Risk analysis processes are used in all major projects. I would suggest you ask this question to your gatekeeper or responsible/accountable persons. Thank you for that comment, Mike.
I can address that a little bit. One of the major things in project management is risk management. So a lot of that has to do with trying to understand the unknown knowns. In other words, what could go wrong? We didn't go into an in-depth on that, but in-depth analysis on that wasn't part of our scope. But let's just say that, there's a lot of things that can hang up the schedule of a project. So we try and keep an eye on those risk elements, try and foresee what could hang things up. It could be permitting, things that are sort of outside of our control. So we're always keeping an eye as a project manager is trying to keep an eye out for things that can go wrong and what you can do to mitigate those things ahead of time or after they might occur.
Thank you, Jeff. We have another question from Cheryl McCurdy. How noisy is this facility going to be? There are homeowners across the street and to the south of the facility.
I'll take that one. So this facility will not be overly noisy. We do have large trucks and equipment that do operate out of this facility. Now, they're not going to be at maximum RPM. They're going to be idling when they're in this facility. And most of the time, it's going to be in the morning. They muster at about 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. And then the rest of the day, they're out in the field. They're out on the roadway doing road work. They come back in at the end of the day at 2, 3 o'clock, and then they're gone. Now, we do have some night work. We have storm events. They may be working in the evening, but once again, they come and pick the equipment up and they're out on the roadways. So it's not, the activity on this site isn't like a 24-hour heavy equipment operation. It's they're there in the morning to pick up vehicles and equipment, and then they head out in the field. And again, they come back in the evening. So I don't anticipate this to be it's not a loud operation, and I don't anticipate it's going to affect the area much. You've got a state highway right next to it.
Thank you. We've got another verbal request with the user of screen name. I'm going to unmute your microphone, and you should be able to. Yes.
This is Jacques. What is being developed in the near future, to quote you, that would be utilized in the Lammard Road area when we were referring to traffic?
I do not know. That's a private endeavor, but the parcels have been subdivided and a roadway has been constructed through that area. So when I say near future, that could be, that could be 10 years out from now. I don't know.
Who would know, and when can we find out?
The owner would know, and it would be whenever he's ready to come, or whoever is the current owner of the property. When they are ready to develop, they'll have to go through the permitting process, and that's when we'll find out.
And who's the current owner, please?
RNS, the RNS estate owns much of that property.
Much of it. How about the other?
I do not know.
How many parcels?
I believe there's five parcels, including the county parcel, or maybe it's 6, including the county parcel.
is it all documented in the county records in order to be able to visualize who those 5 parcel owners are?
You
Yeah.
can actually go on to the county's website onto the parcel search feature, and you can then click onto each individual parcel and get ownership information as well as their mailing addresses.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Gelder.
Gelder,
Whoops, I'm sorry, that was, I didn't mean to cut you off there. That was my mistake. Let me fix that. Sorry about that. You should be able to speak. Shoot.
that was for Rob Gelder.
Okay, yeah, sorry, go ahead. You can ask the question.
I just received a letter from the Board of Commissioners today that is in regards to my parcel that it connects to the new county site for road maintenance. And it's not addressing the completion of concerns that I have, and I want a phone call tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next question is it typed into the Q&A dialog box, and that comes from Cheryl McCurdy. For those of us who live on Gunderson Road, is this facility going to affect our property values? I'm not sure who.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question to ask. It's, I'm not a real estate agent. I don't see why it would. It's a needed service in the North Kitsap area. It's going to be a very nice, aesthetically pleasing looking facility. It's going to have lots of natural vegetation screening. It's in a legal zoning use area. So I don't anticipate it affecting property values, but I'm not a real estate agent.
Thank you, Jacques. Okay, at this time, we don't have any questions in the dialog box, and we do not have any hands raised. If somebody has any other question, please indicate so or type it in the dialog box. Otherwise, okay, we just received one from Beth Berglund. Early in the planning process, the project in 2020, the Kingston Community Advisory Council's Environment and Land Use Committee submitted detailed questions and obtained responses from the county shortly thereafter. I'm wondering if there has been any material change to the anticipated project, siting, scope, plan, etc., which would make any of those responses no longer accurate.
No. This is Joe, county engineer, and the answers are still accurate. We still are doing the option that preserves the interior wetland and has the 150 buffers, foot buffers. We can review that to look for any minute details, but there has been no change in the layout of the impacts to the site since that time.
Thank you for that question, Beth. Okay, at this time, we have no further questions. Oh, I'm sorry. An anonymous attendee. Thanks, Commissioner. There's been lots of dirt work going on there over the last several months. So I thought something significant was changing there.
I could speak to that. The dirt work you saw going on there was construction of the internal roadway. In addition to that, the proponent of that property opened up the old stream that existed there. Many, many decades ago, it had been tightlined in a closed stormwater facility, underground pipe and catch basins. And he has opened it up so it's a natural stream again through that property. So that'll be a nice amenity there as well, and will enhance the ability of salmon to move upstream. So it's a great amenity, a great improvement to that site.
Thank you, John. Next question is from Cheryl McCurdy. I have never seen Lammerd Road. Where is it? Are you going to rename Gunderson Road?
So Lammerd Road is just it's just an identifier for the roadway that was constructed on that parcel between Gunderson and Bond. You can see it if you live there. You've seen the road being constructed. It will have a different name. Lammerd is the zoning acronym for that area. It means a local area of more intense rural development. So we've been referring to the roadway in our discussions as Lammerd Road, just so everybody was on the same page when we were talking about it, but that's not going to be the final road name.
Thank you, Jacques. Okay, screen name is raised.
We didn't answer the second question, which is we are not going to be renaming Gunderson Road.
Correct.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, screen name. I'm going to unmute your microphone and you should be able to ask your question.
Thank you. You know, just to quote, speaking of being on the same page and how important that is, let's not forget how we all encouraged you that in fact that was a salmon running stream that you wanted to ignore and deny, but now in fact you want a big applause for the fact that it's going to be so wonderful. So applause on you. Good man job.
Thank you.
That's actually a separate stream. It's connected to the stream that flows through the parcel, but it's a separate stream. It's actually, when you look at the stream here, it's right about where the box that says Arness site. The arrow is pointing to about where that stream is, and it runs in the direction that the arrow is indicating.
That's all fine and dandy, but let's not ignore the fact that you still want to deny what we told you was salmon's running stream. That's my point. So dot your I's, cross your T's, return your phone calls, and do the job that you would like done if it was your backyard.
All right. Thank you very much. We've got a question in the dialogue box from Kim. Thank you for your time and energy. We live nearby. Is all of the grading paving we can see next to the site occurring on the Arness parcel?
That is correct. The property, the county's parcel starts at the tree line and heads north to Rover Road. So that is all the work you have seen is on the Arness parcel.
Okay, thank you, Jacques. So at this time, we have no further questions. And unless there's any other comments from the panelists, I think we'll conclude the meeting. I would like to thank everyone for attending this evening. And we will be holding another virtual open house in the future as the project progresses. Panelists, does anybody else have any other comments before we adjourn?
No, except Jeff, I'd just like to say it is a pleasure working on this project. We want to make it as workable for the county, and we hope it'll be an amenity that the surrounding neighborhood can be proud of.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. With that, we will adjourn the meeting, and everyone have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks all.